Hello, good morning, everybody. And Tal, thank you very much for the introduction. Let's talk a little bit about the agenda for our webinar today. A small introduction on Ciclo and recap on the MultiHaul TG product line, so that will be a basis to understand what are the new products adding to the existing ones. We'll talk a little bit about some new features which we are planning to do later this year. We'll share some interesting case studies on MultiHaul TG, and then we'll leave some time for the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Who is Ciclo? The company was established in 2008, and we focus mainly on millimeter wave markets, starting with internet access, all the way to mobile backhaul, fronthaul, xhaul in general, and covering as well smart cities and security solutions. We have a portfolio of E-band point-to-point radios, V-band point-to-point, V-band point-to-multipoint, and V-band mesh. All this supported by a number of network tools for the design, operation, management, and planning of networks based on any mix of our products. We are the leader in deployments in the US and in other countries, but in the US it is certainly an objective claim based on registration on the FCC website, which anybody can consult, and the cumulative numbers of radios deployed based on Ciclo up to mid-2021 was 71% market share. We have customers in many countries and geographies, from a large one to maybe not so large, but very prestigious ones, such as, for example, Total Play in the Americas, or Rakuten, and other locations in the world. All of them here on this slide, the tier ones in their respective markets. We have deployments in over 50 countries, with more than 200,000 units deployed, millimeter wave units deployed, etc. Ciclo MultiHaul TG product line is today the largest TeraGraph certified portfolio, if we count the types of products which are available, which allow everybody or every organization to optimize the products and where they are deployed and how they are deployed in order to best suit the need of the organization, whether you need 360 degrees or less, whether you want to go short or long, simple or high-end. We have all these different options available in the different types of products. Our products are very simple to operate. They work out of the box with anything at all. And just one click will set up a link to between two units, which is very unique in the TeraGraph ecosystem in general. All our solution is based on layer 2 switching, which means that even though routing is obviously something which is in the realm of capabilities of many organizations, it is still mostly seen in the core of the network, and the staff deploying, operating, troubleshooting the edge is more familiar and comfortable with layer 2 and switching than anything else. But nevertheless, we still allow full VLAN configurations and additional layer 2 features to operate on our network. How does a typical MultiHaul TG look like? We start here at the edge where fiber ends, because we like fiber and we like to extend what fiber can do. That's basically the goal of all of our products at Ciclo and MultiHaul TG in particular. We connect the fiber to one of our nodes, and from there we start building an infrastructure across the service area, the campus, or whatever it is that the organization is trying to deploy. And these nodes are eventually configured in a resilient topology to protect from a single point failure. So we have the backhaul, if you want, and the access provided in one single box, very easy and very convenient. And then we connect the end users, whether they are single-family homes here, there could be these light poles here, or maybe a business location over there with our terminal units. All this infrastructure operates, as I said earlier, very easily configured from the GUI or the CLI if you want, available on each and every unit. So it's very simple, it's self-resilient. If a unit will power down and then up, the service is instantaneously restored because the configuration is stored locally, and there is no dependency anywhere on anything like a controller to be available and bring the service up on this unit. Nevertheless, we are planning to roll out a controller function to automate the operations for those organizations where automation and scale are very important, and to allow also some resiliency to protect from single fault failures, or to self-organize basically, if that's what the organization wants. So TerraGraph is something which is well known in the industry, and we are TerraGraph certified, but it is also important to understand where our MultiHaul TG differs from the playbook that Meta developed with some of our help, but they developed still in their own direction. And many other players in the TerraGraph ecosystem followed the playbook, because at Siklu we were not on our first 60 GHz product, or not our first millimeter wave product. We were talking already with lots of organizations of small and larger size, and we thought that we needed to do things differently from the TerraGraph playbook to be sure that what we are doing at Siklu will remain relevant to all of the organizations that we like to work with. So we certainly are compliant. We utilize the reference chipset, which allows us to meet all of the criteria at the air interface, or the MAC if you want, and being compliant with .AY as well. But then the networking, we didn't like the concept of being dependent on the layer 3 routed network. It's too complex for the edge. It's a little bit slower as well. So we went for a very simple, very comfortable layer 2 switching solution. It is also because a lot of the organizations we have been working with and we continue to work with, whether they deploy today DSL or fiber or GPON or anything alike, their edge is a layer 2 network, and we wanted them to be comfortable that anything they do on top of their existing technology will work in the same way on the wireless technology of Siklu. So we decided to stay at layer 2. The node unit was not something very clear in on the DN concept of TerraGraph, where it's one DN 90 degrees, and then you would need to add 4 of them and an aggregator for 360 degrees. And we have not seen many 360 degree solutions because of that problem. Out there, we decided that 360 degrees are important because it ensures the organization that they put a node on one location, and it doesn't matter where the customer is around that location, it will have service. So we have done a 360 degrees to begin with, which means one location for 60 subscribers, one single IP for management, one single installation, one single unit to power, and all that delivers 360 degrees. Nevertheless, we're talking with, continue to deploy and talking with customers, and realize that there is still a gap with that 360 degree solution. And we are adding today a 90 degree solution, which does not exist anywhere in the TerraGraph ecosystem, and will show what it means and where it's going to deploy, and how it will help organizations optimize their networks even further. The out-of-box experience is something which has always been dear and to our heart at Siklu, because we realize that everybody here, they want to deploy the network and move over. They don't want to spend time deploying. Their business is to run services, not on the network, and they run the network to deploy services on top of it. So it was important for us that it would not take a long time and it would not be complex to deploy a MultiHaul TG network. And that's why we didn't want to do the controller-based solution initially. Very simple GUI, click on one page and the link is up and will remain up forever. And yes, we are adding the NMS and runner for full automation and resiliency in just a little bit. And we still wanted to make something even simpler because we realized that there are audiences that even going into the GUI and one click is too complex for them. And we are going to show in just a few slides how our new MPL-260, the gigabit in a box, auto connects literally with no configuration at all. And that will address quite a number of use cases from that point of view. Network planning is something which is also important. We have been doing network planning for all of our products for some time, and that always enable interested organizations to evaluate and understand, first of all, what our products can do for them, and then how to best optimize the use and the deployment of our network to achieve their goals. And with the TeraGraph certified solutions, Meta provided an ANP, but that ANP planning is restricted to the TeraGraph certified vendors like Ciclo and others, and some selected partners, but not everybody out there, which again we think is kind of misses the mark because it's not really clear what the solution can do unless you can plan and see for yourself directly how to design a network. So Windy has been upgraded to be able to plan a MultiHaul TG network for over 2 years now, and we continue to add and improve. And certainly we make sure that anybody who is a registered partner of Ciclo can connect to Windy and evaluate MultiHaul TG on their own and directly. And then we complement all this with a range of backhaul solutions, which is again not available with everybody else, but well integrated with our MultiHaul TG portfolio to make sure that wherever the fiber ends, if it does not reach all the way to the campus or to the service area or wherever you want to deploy your MultiHaul TG, then you can certainly utilize our backhaul solutions to bridge the gap between where the fiber ends and when the MultiHaul TG solution really works best. So we are going to talk about some of our solutions, not all of the portfolio, because we want to speak more about the new parts, but also want to refresh the memory of, or maybe make sure that some new audience understands what is the base for the new product. So, you know, on the one hand, we have the N366, which is certainly the most important part of the MultiHaul TG portfolio, because that's how you build the network infrastructure to begin with. So it's one single box with 4 sectors. We can see 1 sector and 2 sectors and 3 sectors here, and then there's a 4th one on the back. So we have 360 degrees coverage in a very compact package, less than 10 inches tall. If it's mounted at the top of the pole, you can see easily why it's going to deliver 360 degrees, as you can see here. But some organizations may not have access to the top of the pole, and so they will mount the 366 middle of the pole, as I hope you can see here on this picture. And in that case, even if the pole is maybe 4 inches diameter, which is not a small pole by any means, there is only 20 degrees of blockage out of 360, so it means that we can still cover 340 degrees from this location, 60 links, 4 sectors, and their full capabilities of almost 4 gigabit per sectors. So the full capacity is still there in terms of capacity, in terms of link count, and just a little bit of obstruction. We can mount the N366 on the pole, which will have even up to 12 inches in diameter. The impact on the coverage will be a little more in that case, and we can provide you this information offline if you want. What else do we have? Each of the 4 sectors can operate on any of the 4 channels which are designed in the TeraGraph ecosystem. They can be configured independently to operate all on the same channel or alternate or any kind of channel plan that you want to do. And if you are not sure how best to do it, Windy will help you to design the most effective channel plan on the one hand. Windy will also help to orientate the node 366 relative to the pole in the best location if you have to mount it middle of the pole to ensure that all the links that you plan to achieve from that location are not obstructed by the pole. You just have to tell Windy what is the diameter of the pole, and it will calculate automatically the orientation from there. On the N366, as you can see here, we have a number of ports. The first one is an RJ45 10 gigabit, but it will also negotiate down all the way to 100 meg if you need to. That's also how we do power into the unit with 802.3 BT up to 90 watt. The second port is ETH2. It's a 1 gigabit RJ45, can negotiate down to 100 meg as well, can do PoE out compliant with 802.3 BT, all the way to 35 watt of power, if I remember well. And then the last port is an SFP cage, which can run SFP plus 10 gigabit or SFP 1 gigabit. And we have options for single mode or multi-mode fiber SFPs on our price book as well. We provide today 3.8 gigabit aggregates, or almost 2 gigabit of capacity per sector or per link if you want. That's the kind of services that can be achieved on the N366 infrastructure. We will upgrade the software to support a channel bonding of 2 channels CB2 feature next year, and that will bump the capacity to 5.5 gigabit per sector or per link. And it means that now you can even offer, or you will be able to offer next year, services up to 2.5 gigabit line speed in terms of services. Why is that important? Because some of the organizations are already looking at what they can do with their DOCSIS or with their fiber infrastructure. GPON can go to 2.5, DOCSIS can go to 2.5 gigabit as well. So we want to enable these organizations to decide on what is the service that they want to offer as kind of the leading service in their offering, and be sure that they can offer it on any type of technology that they choose, whether it's coax, fiber, or wireless with MultiHaul TG. We have a number of terminal units in the portfolio, and I will just talk about one of them here. That's the MultiHaul TG T260. It's designed to do 1 gigabit as best as possible, very small package, less than 7.5 inches tall. There is a 1 single gigabit port on the bottom of it, and that's all it is. It can go all the way to 150, 200, 300 meters, depending on where you deploy it and what kind of link availability you want to guarantee. And we are going to enable very soon the RF2 feature, next year the CB2 feature. They will both contribute to improve the capacity of the sector and the oversubscription on the sector where these links are deployed, or improve the availability of the 1 gigabit service and take it a little bit further within the coverage of the N366. In terms of power, the T260 is very simple. It's 13 watts, so it's very light. You can power it from many switches, which are 802.3 AF compliant. That will hook up to each other because we do standard 802.3 AF on the data port of the T260 as well. In case you don't have a PoE out capability on the switch or the router or the home gateway or whatever it is that is connected there, there is a PoE injector inside the box with the AC cable, of course, so that you can power the unit via the data cable and using the PoE injector on the way. The T260 comes in the box also with an attached mounting kit, which can be used to orientate vertically plus minus 10 degrees the T260 if it will help the link performance. And then you can attach to a pole with the 2 metallic bands which are in the box as well. If you want to do a wall mount installation, no need to install the pole in that case. You can just drill 2 holes, as you can see here. The drill pattern for the 2 holes is printed on the quick start guide, which is in the box, so that you can just drill through the paper in the wall, put in your anchors, and then screw the mounting kit here to the wall, and then attach the T260 back into the mounting kit, so that you have a wall mount installation. It can be just a little more eye pleasant in that if you want, when you don't have to add a pole, it will be also faster and cheaper to the installation. And the T260 has a horizontal field of view of plus minus 45 degrees. So as long as the N366 is within that field of view, the link will go up, and that's very easy to install. So let's talk now about the new products. The first one is the N265. That's 9 inches tall, a single sector node. So like any node, it has a GPS antenna at the top. We don't see very well here on the picture. It has a 90 degrees horizontal field of view. We'll talk about the vertical one in a moment. Like a single sector of the N366. Like a single sector of the N366, this unit will do 15 links, which can be configured. And one of the links can be a link to another sector. In the future, we will do 2 links out of the N366 to another sector, out of the total 15, just like we will do it on the N366 sectors as well. In terms of radio, that's the same features, if you want, as the radio of N366 sector. So it can go all the way to MCS 12, 4.6 gigabit over the air, aggregate speeds. It is ready for RF2 in the hardware, and there will be a software that will activate this feature in a few months. That will add 6 dB end-to-end to the link budget when the RF2 feature is active on the 2 ends of the link. So everybody knows that if you want to build a radio network, having a better link budget will always be better in terms of either the capacity, either the availability, or the distance. All these 3 numbers always combine under the link budget. And we will also activate the CB2 feature next year on the N265. Same story as I mentioned a moment ago for the 366, and will allow to run 2.5 gigabit services on top of the N265. So no worries which of our products to choose, you can always run the same services from them. In terms of the port layout, same port layout as we have on the N366, so 10 gigabit, 1 gigabit, fiber port. Because the power draw of a single sector node is less than the 4 sectors node, here we can go all the way up to 63 watt on ETH2 port with 802.3BZ. So it means that even the PTZ camera, and there are very few which need more than 60 watt, can be connected all directly from the ETH2 port of the N265. Certainly simpler cameras, Wi-Fi APs can be backhauled directly from ETH2 port of the N265. What do we have in the box when you order it? We have obviously the radio unit with an attached mounting kit. Few details on that in a moment. 2 metallic bands, the grounding cable, the all-weather shell to protect the cable entry and make sure that we maintain the rating of the IP67, sorry, of the N265 to IP67, so very well protected from rain or dust, and no compromise like I see sometimes on other products where it's IP65/66. I don't know what this means. It's either 65 or 66 or 67. There is nothing in the middle here. And it's also rated for NEMA 4, which is also another nomenclature in the Americas landscape. So it's very much a carrier grade product all the way. What is not included in the box is the PoE, because there are many types of power options, and we'll talk about some of them in a moment. And obviously the extended MK can be interesting in some applications. We are going to see what happens where. So why did we do the N265 to begin with? And we were talking with a lot of partners and customers for the last 2 years that we are doing MultiHaul TG. And some of them were telling us, look, we have a problem where we have a high rise, generally speaking, in dense urban areas, and we want to serve locations which are maybe like across the street or maybe a little bit away. And in that case, the link is either blocked or very poor performance. So when we zoom in on this roof, we understand better why it's happening. If we put the N366 in the middle of the roof, then the larger roofs are obviously an obstruction directly there to the coverage of the sectors. If we move the N366 to the edge, then the other sectors are not very much in use. And even if we have moved it to the edge, because there is no tilt capability with the N366, there is basically not very good performance yet for these locations which are very close to the building. So we bring in the N265 with significant down tilt capabilities. Coming out next slide, and now we can make sure that even the links which are very close to the taller roof have very good performance as well. How do we do this? In the box, I mentioned there is a mounting kit which is included. You can see it here on the profile on this slide. It allows doing plus minus 10 degrees vertical adjustment, which combines to the 25 degrees field of view of the N265. So that allows some good coverage, even if we tilt down to 10 degrees plus the 25. That's not a bad starting point, but it still leaves like 45 degrees, which are not covered if we are on these higher buildings. So here we use the EHMK SM, which is the optional mounting kit, which needs to be purchased independently of the N265 itself. Can be bolted on the back of the N265 and then mounted on a pole, and then take into account 60 degrees of down tilt with the mounting kit, with the 25 degrees coverage of the N265, and now we have quite good coverage even for the locations which are on the other side of the street, literally from the roof. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do why we are doing this N265, and now you have all the details here. There is yet another application, so in terms of power, before I talk about the next application, sorry about that. So in terms of power, we have a number of options. I'm just showing here some of them on the slide. You can power the N265, first of all, from a switch, if it can deliver the 27 watt of power that the unit needs. So it's 802.3 AT compliant switch. Can power the N265 directly. If you need to do PoE out, then we have a number of options. You can utilize, for example, the 10G 60 watt PoE injector, which will allow 23 watt of power from ETH2. If it's enough, then you are set. If you need more, we have a number of options, and I'm going to show just some here on the slide. You can utilize, for example, this AC to DC brick, which will deliver 90 watt, and then connect it with this adapter to the ETH1 port of the N265. In that case, data has to come in via ETH2 or ETH3 on fiber. And if you have like a telco style installation, where you run 48 volt in the plant and you want to utilize that to power the N265, you can do it as well. These adapters are available on the open market. Just be aware that some of them are not rated for outside temperatures, or they don't transform the two wires here on the 4 pairs on this side, and you don't get the full complement of power. So you can buy some of them on the open market. We on Siklu sell them in bags of 10, and they are certainly rated for outside plant, and the 4 pairs, no worries here. I mentioned another application for the N265. Think about maybe a mall or a campus where you have a few links to backhaul, and you have a convenient location here at the corner of the parking lot. And you can bring the 366. Obviously, it will do the work very well, but then the 2 or 3 sectors may not be in use. So now we are bringing the N265 at a more advantageous price point for this application, because all you need is one sector and you can do it with the N265. That's another use case for the N265. And even if you have some locations that you need to serve from the other side of the building, then you can locate an N265 here. That's why we enable this link-to-link location from the N265 to another one. And then this N265 acting as a repeater will basically raise additional links to some poles which are on the other side of the building and back all of this to a single location. You can put an N366 here and then an N265 over here, or vice versa. They are completely interoperable, so you can raise the link from the N265 to the 366, or raise the link from the 366 to the N265. It's all the same. You can just go into the GUI and configure it, and it will go up. So I think with that, we have covered all what I wanted to talk about, the N265 parameters, configuration, etc., and use cases. Let's talk about the other product, the MPL-260. As you can see here, a link in a box. And the reason we wanted to do it is we realized that TeraGraph is very good. Can go 1 gigabit to very long distances. Can certainly do it better than gigabit Ethernet, which is limited over copper to 100 meters. And here we can go 200 and 300 meters. And we realize that there are plenty of applications where somebody needs to run Ethernet from point A to point B, and it's going to take a long time. Maybe they will never get a permit to dig or to attach to the poles, and they don't know how to configure radios, even the simplest one, like Cyclus, which is just one click, but even that may be a little too much. So let's do something which is just, operate out of the box, nothing to configure at all. So you have one box which has 2 units. In fact, we have 2 smaller boxes in the larger one, so that if you split the installation job into 2 persons, you give 1 box to the 2 of them, and they can each go on the 2 sides of the link, do the installation, but in the box that they take with them, they have all what they need. So they have the point-to-point radio, they have the mounting kit which is attached to it, they have the metallic bands, they have the gland for securing the cable entry, the grounding cable, and even the PoE injector in case, again, the location cannot do PoE out from the equipment which is connecting to the end unit here. So PoE injector, again, the end unit is just 30 watt. It's based on the same hardware as the T260. So if the unit which is connected under the roof to the end unit here is 802.3 AF compliant, it will power this on the end of the link, and you can just recycle the PoE injector. So the main thing to remember, again, nothing at all to configure. It will auto connect. There is a plus minus 45 degrees field scanning capability in the radio, so that's very, very simple to deploy. And anybody who knows anything about a screwdriver basically can do it. No need to bring a laptop, nothing at all. The link will go up. Excuse me. And nevertheless, if after it's being deployed and connected, the organization wants to do something more fancy, then they have the full MultiHaul TG software available on the GUI, on the CLI. They can go in, they can change default admin password, for example. They can change IP addresses, they can add VLANs, anything that they want, because I said it's run basically the same software as we run on the MultiHaul TG series in general. In terms of hardware, I mentioned already for some other products, the RF2, the CB2 features. So the hardware is capable of RF2 and CB2 features as well. When we release those features for the MultiHaul TG series in general, these features will be upgradable. And yes, even though the product is auto connects out of the box, it is still future safe. You can, as I said, connect to it remotely if you want to. And in addition to doing any kind of advanced configuration, you can also upgrade it to the future software releases that we will make available for the MultiHaul TG series in the coming months and years. So what could be a very typical application for this? Imagine an organization which is deployed in this building. They are growing, they need more space, they look around, nothing is available. They identify a building on the other side of the parking lot, great, but now they call the service provider in the area. They ask when can they give them a gigabit connection and how much it's going to cost. And they realize that it's not going to happen tomorrow or not even next week, and it's going to be some interesting fees to pay every month to the service provider. They call their preferred distributor, ask for an MPL-260, and put it out of the window, connect the 2 floors which we are using, and now they can move into this new floor the next morning, and the staff moving in are connected to the network at gigabit speed instantaneously. So that's very simple for many organizations. It can be done building to building, building to pole, pole to pole, Wi-Fi backhaul, video surveillance, anything that you want to do. The main thing to remember, somebody that can run a cable can install this MPL-260 and move on to the next cable installation if you want. Another accessory that we are adding to our portfolio, always thinking about how can we make the MultiHaul TG more relevant and more performant for everybody. We have customers installing N366 in that case along streets, and they like to make this visually nice. So they installed the N366 at a 90-degree angle with the street between the pole. And that has the downside, but now the link going from one pole to the next one, or from one N366 to the next one, is shooting from the edge of the sector, which is where it is between 2 and 3 dB down from the center. So we don't like very much this idea, because it means that the link, which is the most important for the organization, because it backhauling traffic from 1 and 2 and 3 nodes down the street, doesn't have the best possible capability in terms of link budget. So we decided to do a new mounting kit accessory that comes in its own box. You can see it here installed. And basically what it does, it rotates the N366 45 degrees, still maintaining this nice visuals of the N366 being 90 degrees between the street and the pole. But now that it is rotated 45 degrees, it means that the link going from one pole to the next one is shooting from the center point, if you want, of the sector. So we gain 3 dB per side, 6 dB for the link budget in total, which is always nice for a wireless network to have more dBs than less dBs. So that's another accessory. That's the part number that you need to order from your distributors, AXMK N366X-45. Simple reminder that it will rotate the N366 by 45 degrees. I'll skip this slide because we are running short on time. I want to talk about some of the applications that some of you are already doing, or will maybe be interested in hearing about what can be done with MultiHaul TG. So we have a partner like ResTech in Madison, Wisconsin, which wanted to collapse a lot of 60 gig technologies on one and continue to offer services to important customer based inside the MDUs. So they evaluated, I guess, a number of options. They decided to work with Siklu and the MultiHaul TG N366 to collapse all of their networks on a single network. So it means that now they can run a single network, lowering the time that they spend running the network, so the cost of deployment, but also the cost of operating the network. And they believe that they have headroom to grow with additional services. The case study is deployed is available on our website, so you can have more details there if you want. Another interesting story is Noovis that operates some RV parks, and here is the example of one of them in Delaware, again in the US, where the RVs are coming in. Obviously, nobody's going to run cables to an RV, so the last feeds that are done over Wi-Fi, as you can tell in this picture, but they wanted something which is very solid and quick to deploy to all of the Wi-Fi APs. So they have deployed N366 across the RV park and provide a very robust capacity to all the Wi-Fi APs and from there to the RVs in the park. And again, that is also available on our website if you want more details on what Noovis did and how they evaluated our solution for them. And then another interesting story maybe is Horizon Communications in Bermuda. They offer their services to all the financial and high-profile clients in the islands. So it was important for them to deploy something which is very robust and very stable and very capable. They evaluated a number of solutions and are migrating all of their previous wireless solutions to the Siklu portfolio in general, MultiHaul TG certainly, but you can see here some of our 8010s as well, and some T280s here. So a good representation of the Siklu portfolio in general and MultiHaul TG in particular. Some other views, and again, that is also published on our website, so you can have more details over there. Before we turn to the Q&A, again, a quick reminder of, I hope what you have taken from all of this presentation. MultiHaul TG is the largest TerraGraph certified portfolio, so that you can find any kind of solution that you want in terms of how best to optimize or how best to address the challenges and the goals of your organization with different types of node and different types of TUs. Very simple to deploy and to operate and to configure. Layer 2 switching, very fast, very efficient, and yet we will enable a network controller to automate your deployment if that's you want to. Sorry that I didn't have time to speak about it today, but that's something that will be coming out soon. So stay tuned to more announcements from Siklu, and we'll talk about what we want to do in the space of automation and resiliency very soon now. With that, let's look at any questions that I might not have answered during the presentation. Tal, what do you see there?
Yes, thank you, Shimon, for this presentation. So we have received several questions so far. Let's review some of the questions. Again, if you have additional questions, please be sure to send them via the question feature or chat options, and we will address them shortly during the session. So, Shimon, the first question, a question from Michael. What are the advantages of the N265 compared to the N366?
Okay, so N265 differentiates or is advantageous compared to the N366 in, I think, two ways. First of all, it's going to be a lower price point. So if you don't need the 4 sectors, if you need only 1 sector, the N265 is more cost efficient to deploy, and otherwise it's all the same capacities, the same features, etc. than the N366. So again, if you need just 1 sector, that's the way to go. If you need more than 1 sector, I'm not sure that the N265 is going to come in more advantageous than the N366. And the other advantage, apart from the cost, is the fact that from a coverage point of view, and certainly where you have, like you see here on this picture, by the way, where you have some taller roofs where you may be able to deploy an N366, maybe it's this roof or maybe it's that one, and you want to reach some locations which are just down from the building. the N366, even if you deploy it all the way to the edge, will not reach very well because there is no down tilt option. So the N265 has this down tilt option, and that's why it's important to it. Even if you take a product which has more than 90 degrees field of view, like the N366 in theory, and we would down tilt it mechanically, in theory that could be possible. But then the three other sectors, or anything which is more than 90 degrees in general, because we know that there are some other products on the market which do more than 90 degrees, less than, and they can potentially be down tilted. If you look at more than 90 degrees and you down tilt, then from the other edges beyond 90 degrees are shooting, somewhere in the sky, and that's not advantageous. So we really thought about, what is the optimal angle to use when you want to do down tilt, and 90 degrees seems to be the most optimal solution there. That's why we built the N265 with 90 degrees of horizontal field of view, and up to 60 degrees of down tilt capability, or up tilt capability, but probably less important, to make sure that links can be raised even down to structures very close to the building, like we see here maybe in this picture.
Okay, thank you very much. Another question from Jack. Please, can you clarify the installation options for the MPL-260?
So MPL-260 comes in two installation options, independently for each side. They can be pole mounted. The mounting kit, which is attached to the radio, can attach to a pole which is anywhere between 2 and 4 inches in diameter. The metallic bands for that are provided as well in the box. And the mounting kit has also 2 holes drilled in the mounting kit, so you can wall mount it if you want as well. The quick start guide, which is in the box of each of the 2 sides, will allow mounting the end unit on the wall as well.
Okay. Another question. What does one need to configure with the MPL-260?
Nothing at all. That's the beauty of the MPL-260. You just run the data cable to it, where it's going to also be the power coming in to it, and that's all. As long as they are within 200 to 300 meters of each other, and within the plus minus 45 degree coverage horizontally. If you mount them on the wall, or if you don't align precisely, which probably nobody will ever do, even if you mount them on a pole, so nothing to configure. The link will come up automatically. Even there is a power event and you recover from power, the link is still there. It will come up again.
Okay. Another question about the N265. Can the N265 do PoE out?
Yes, the N265 can do PoE out on ETH2. That's the second port on the lineup. It's a 1 gigabit port, which can auto-negotiate to 100 meg. And depending on the power solution adopted for the N265, and I shared a few of the options on the earlier slide, but again, if you need something different, consult us or consult your Siklu distributor. You can go all the way to 63 watt if that's what you need, as long as the device to be powered is compliant with 802.3 BT. If it's compliant with 802.3 AF or AT, we will do that as well, because these are kind of included in the 802.3 BT spec. But if you want to go more than 26 watt, all the way to 63, it needs to be 802.3 BT compliant.
Okay. Another question about the N265. Can the N265 backhaul additional nodes?
Yes, the N265 can today raise a link to another node. The other node can be an N265 again or an N366 because they basically have the same, they run the same software, they are interoperable. So an N265 can today raise a link to another node on the other side. And the hardware is capable of doing 2 links. Software is not yet fully tested for that. We are working on it, and we will add this capability in the coming months. So 1 link to another sector today, 2 in the future.
Okay, and we have time for 1 more question. This one is from Josh. When does the multi-point connectivity software update for the T265 will be released? This is about the 265.
Yeah, I understand. So we have announced, I believe, during the week already, and we'll announce again during the next newsletter planned for next week, if I remember well, a software release 1.4.1, which is applicable to all of our products, N366, T280, T265. N265 will come out of the box with release 1.4.1. Also, and release 1.4.1 brings together with itself a number of bug fixes, a few features, nothing dramatic, this one, except for the fact that they enable the N265 and the MPL-260. These are the most important features for release 1.4.1, but full details are on the release note, which is posted already on our website or available on the FTP, depending on how you like to get these news. And again, you'll get a reminder in the up and coming newsletter about release 1.4.1. But release 1.4.1 is available today, posted on our website and our FTP.
Okay, so sorry if we are not able to answer all the questions, but the ones that we didn't address will provide answers via email. So I think it's a wrap. We are out of time. I would like to thank everyone for attending this live webinar session. And to you, Shimon. Again, if you wish to learn more about Siklu and about our products and solutions, please visit our website at www.siklu.com. You can also follow us on our social media channels to stay up to date with our news. You can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and also in Instagram. So I want to thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you all again on our next sessions. Thank you very much, and goodbye.